Hi, y'all. This is Kristen Chenoweth.
Hi, I'm Gloria Stefan.
This is Sarah Bareilles.
Hi, I'm Patty Lapone.
This is Lin-Manuel Miranda. You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Welcome back to the Theater Podcast. I'm your host, Alan Seals, and this is intimate personal conversations with the industry's biggest names. This episode is with Adam Jacobs, who you probably know as originating the role of Aladdin in the show of the same name for Disney. He's bearing his soul in the latest project called Adam Jacobs Behind the Curtain, which is a recorded docu-concert, as he's calling it, of his life story intertwined with some photos and some interviews from his family, from his past, and it seems really, really cool and really interesting. He grew up in the Bay Area, left the sports scene after a teacher encouraged him to follow his new passion for performing and singing. He got into NYU, and of course, the rest is history. So before we get into this, please follow along on Twitter and Instagram at theater_podcast. Got some good contests and some good content getting posted there now. Leave a rating and a review wherever you're listening. And now, everybody, please enjoy this episode with Adam Jacobs.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3.
Today's guest may be best known for originating the role of Aladdin on Broadway, which garnered him both Grammy and Drama Desk noms, in addition to other Broadway credits like Simba in The Lion King and Marius in Les Mis. He's been in the national tours of all three of the same shows and also has credits ranging the gamut from writing and directing to producing and even visual effects. His latest film project, Adam Jacobs Behind the Curtain, is about ready for you to watch. Adam Jacobs, welcome to the Theater Podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No problem. Where are you calling in from? You look like you got a cozy little living room going on there.
Oh yeah, no, I'm in Chicago. I moved out here a couple years ago from New York City, and it's been amazing.
Oh, really? So you're based out of Chicago now? That's your home base?
Yeah, that's right. I decided, once the kids are school age, it's probably better to bring them out of the craziness of New York City and try to have some semblance of a normal life with a backyard and a garage and a Costco membership and a minivan,
Well, the Chicago lifestyle, though, I mean, I guess I take it you're in a suburb then, because like Chicago proper, I would think is just like New York proper.
That's true. Yeah. No, we decided to, branch out. I'm close by Evanston up in the northern part, and it's just lovely. We're near the lake, and you got some nature, got space. We wanted space, and that's what we got.
Yeah, and Chicago's close enough. So obviously you're coming back to New York, you're doing shows, you're doing cabarets, you're filming for Adam Jacobs Behind the Curtain. Tell me about that, because that was all it was produced and recorded at 54 Below?
Actually, it was, Vitello's Feinstein's Vitello's in Los Angeles is where we did that.
Oh, not New York.
So that one was filmed in Los Angeles. And, that was the other thing about being in Chicago. I can kind of jump between the two cities, which is great. But I was out there filming a film called Last Call in the Doghouse, which coincidentally is going to be coming out around the same time as this concert. We're calling it a docu-concert. My producer loves that phrase, and I'm saying, okay, well, we'll call it that. And it's basically a bunch of interviews. We go kind of in depth behind the curtain, as you may say, and behind the scenes. And I talk about my life, I talk about my journey. I bring up some interesting stories about how I got to where I am, and sing some Broadway tunes and throw in some pop and rock stuff there as well. It's a really fun concert that I kind of put together, and he was like, let's film it. And I was kind of nervous about it, honestly. I was like, well, I've never done it yet. This is the first time I'm performing it, and you want to film it with like 5 cameras and do a whole thing. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And it ended up being really great. I was really impressed with what he did, and I'm excited to share it. It's going to be coming out really soon, and I'll be posting about it on my social media all about it.
That's interesting because I know that I watched the trailer I haven't seen the whole thing, but you talk about being your mom is Filipino and your dad, let me see if I get this right, is Dutch, Russian, and Polish. So
And Jewish, yes.
and Jewish, yes. So you've got this wonderful mix of heritage and culture. And growing up, people thought you were Dominican, which is nothing that is in your family that you know
I
of.
would get everything. I would get definitely Latino, but different. Yeah, Colombian, Dominican. It ran the gamut. Some people are like, "Are you part Native American?" Like they didn't know what I was, and in a way that was kind of frustrating because I wasn't sure where I fit in as a kid, and it was hard to come to terms with that. Uh, but as I grew, I kind of discovered how I could use it to my advantage in a way and play, be able to play a lot of different things if I really worked on my acting skills, and that's what I kind of made it a challenge to myself to do that.
Well, when I guess did you as a kid when well, I'm thinking back to something I talked about recently with George Salazar because he talked about too being sort of the outcast in the theater world or struggling to find identity as
Yeah.
someone who just wasn't a typical. I put in air quotes typical, right? You're majority Caucasian individual, and for you was that sort of a detriment or a challenge to overcome when you were thinking about getting into performing?
Yeah, it was in the beginning. It was definitely felt like an obstacle I had to overcome for sure. And I think my favorite roles when I was growing up were the Disney characters of like Aladdin and you know Mowgli, and but when I looked at the theater and film and TV, I didn't see as much opportunity there, right, for people of color and people like me, people who are darker skin, and I went through waves of doubt, which then became resolve into wanting to challenge and say, I'm going to do it. I'm going to just give it all I got and train hard and really just keep going because that's the key there because you come up against so much obstacle and kind of you get a lot of rejection as it is, and then you kind of throw that in of not being knowing where you fit and casting directors not being able to see where you fit and having to sort of change their minds and make them see the possibilities within you, right? And that's where I had to kind of flip that switch and really just kind of go after it and change my mindset, right? And just if you can keep going is what I'm trying to say is if you can just keep going, keep your head down and kind of push through all of that and don't let all that negative stuff affect you and just have faith. That and faith and hard work really and determination. That was how I kind of was able to push through a lot of that nonsense.
Well, when did you realize that you really wanted to pursue it professionally? Because your sister Ariel is a performer too, so the two of you obviously had some sort of influence outside of just maybe it was the same time. I don't know, but like where in the family does the performing bug come into play?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you mentioned my sister, and she definitely was more into the performing as we were when we were kids. At the time when she started singing and dancing, and I was still doing soccer and piano, and I was doing a lot of other things, baseball. But she kind of said, "You want to join me in this group?" I loved music, and I loved singing, but I wasn't really keen on actually like performing. I think I had a little bit of sort of stage fright as a kid. I was a little bit shy in that way. But I was also sort of at that age where, uh, the girls are starting to look a little cute. So why don't you come join this group and see if you like it? And I was like, okay. And that's kind of where it started. I started taking voice lessons from her teacher and we started performing around the city of San Francisco where we grew up. and the rest is kind of history there. But so she takes credit. I also have to give credit to my mother because she's very musical. She kind of learned to play piano by ear. She's an artist. She loves to draw. She's really into Chinese watercolor right now. I should let people know that. Yeah, we did the church choir thing as kids, and that's where we got artistic genes, I suppose. My dad really doesn't have it at all, so it kind of just, I don't know. Although his mom was almost my grandmother almost sang with the Tommy Dorsey band because he wanted her to join him on the road, and her mom said no way. And anyway,
Oh, really?
that's another story. Yeah. So she had musical
Wow.
talent as a sort of Las Vegas cabaret singer. So it skipped a generation there.
That's so fun. So at what point, though, I mean, you're doing soccer and you're doing piano. There's a definite choice to
Yes.
leave the sports, to leave the shooty hoops and the kicky balls and say, I'm going to go to college for this because that's an investment. That's a financial investment to go
Definitely.
after a career that if you're not sure you want to do, kind of doesn't seem like a great idea, right?
Oh, for sure. Everybody's parents, if you're in the arts, they're like, are you sure you want to do this? Because there's not a lot of job security, as everyone knows. But I think the clincher for me was in high school. I had a really great mentor / teacher. He was my director and drama teacher and English teacher. And he cast me in all these musicals. I played Che and Evita. I played Billy Bigelow in Carousel. Fanny and Marius and Fanny 1961, I should say. And a couple other shows. And he was the one who kind of got me out of my shell in that sense and gave me confidence and told me after one of the shows one night, he's like, I don't know if you're considering a career in this, but this is something you might want to consider because you have talent, and that kind of just planted the seed. And that was it. I was like, yeah, I do want to do this. I feel really good about this, and I'm having fun doing it, and I love it. I love storytelling. And I applied to NYU and got that acceptance letter and was through the roof. So I knew it was right. And that's it. That's kind of how it happens sometimes, just one person.
That's a very common story I'm finding, is that it's one teacher that just said, you know what, you can go places, kid. You got the talent,
Yeah, right.
and you just, all it takes is that one little spark to say, oh yeah, maybe I really can do this. We're going to take a short break. Stay tuned for more of the episode. And so, okay, so you audition, you start going to NYU, I guess. So you're coming to New York. That's the obvious place. That's the obvious place to come. There's there's other places around the area too, other schools, but NYU, of course, being in the heart. When you first got here, then had you been in New York before that to see shows or anything, or is this like you're plopped in, you're green, you show up and you're like, I'm gonna be the best ever, and then it's New York and it tries to chew you up and spit you out?
Oh, yeah. No, I think the latter is more accurate. Although I had gone to New York, once. I think it was one time. I saw Beauty and the Beast. That was my first Broadway show, and so I had taken a trip out with my parents to see that. But I definitely knew that's where I wanted to be, and I was very enthusiastic, very eager to try and to be the best I can be, and I was lucky to have some really amazing professors. The cool thing about NYU or AMDA, I suppose, for that matter too, is that, your teachers, they're teaching you all this stuff, and then they go in the evenings to do their shows, and you can see them actually doing what they taught you. And I thought that was just so cool. And I was like, oh, now I understand. Now I understand what you're talking about. So I really I had Alex Corey. She was one of my music teacher, so there's some really like phenomenal people. And I have to give them a lot of credit for that. So I loved it. It was the CAP 21 musical theater program, Tisch School of the Arts, and conservatory based training. That's the way to go if you can do it. And it really set me on the path.
Did you ever have a moment or many moments where you're saying, I really miss those soccer days, or I could have been a concert pianist or anything? I figure there are so many people on Broadway that do it because they have no choice. This is just, their calling. It's what they have to do. It's who they are on the inside. And then, the saying that I've mentioned several times is like, if you can see yourself doing anything else, do that, because it's going to be easier.
I've heard that a lot. And I am jealous of the people that have that much passion for it. Because I don't think that's me, honestly. Like don't get me wrong, I love performing and I love the theater, but there's so many other things that interest me as well. And so when I read books about science and astronomy and history, like I'm fascinated. And I can totally see myself going any one of these directions and exploring them. I don't know to the point of where it actually would create a career for myself, but I still feel like I have that need to know, and that curiosity, I suppose. And so I'm always wanting to fuel that. But like you said, there's a lot of these people out there who live, breathe, and sleep and die theater, and it's amazing. And I love being around those people. They give me so much energy. And that's really what I've missed the most during this whole, pandemic and all that, is just getting that energy, being around people like that. And so anyway, what were we talking about?
Are you still performing? I mean, as much as you can, of course. As we're recording this, it's COVID-19 and whatnot, but
yeah,
like before that, I didn't know you were based out of Chicago. So have you been? Do you audition and perform locally there too, or is it all just like New York and LA or bust?
No. Since moving here, I've done shows up at the Marriott Theater in Lincolnshire, which is actually where I got my equity card many, many years ago. So they were thrilled that I was back in the area, and I did Shakespeare in Something Rotten, and we did Sweet Charity, and I was the Italian lover Vittorio Vidal. So I had a great time with that. And I want to continue to do work there's so much great work around Chicago here. And so I'm looking forward to exploring the different theaters. And at the same time, if Broadway calls and they say, hey, we got this thing that we're looking at for you, of course I'm going to consider that. But as I've gotten older, I've had the luxury of being able to be slightly more picky with the things I decide I want to do. So that's been, that's nice that, you've made it when you can kind of start to turn down certain things. But I don't want it to sound like I'm getting offers all the time. Like, that is definitely not true. But and I was disappointed. I was supposed to do, we were going to do Carousel at Sacramento, actually, Sacramento Music Circus. And I was going to reprise my role as Billy. And I was so excited for that. But, hopefully that's still going to happen. We'll see. But, I'm looking at different gigs. I'm trying now with a family, you kind of have to weigh everything and be like, am I going to be able to leave them for 6 months to go to New York and do a show? It has to be like the role, you know what I mean? So that's just how it is now.
Well, there's longer, I guess it would have to be an established show, because if you're originating a role, you've got to, of course, you're doing the workshops and you're doing the readings,
right,
and then you're doing the out of town, and then you're hoping it comes to Broadway, and then there's all like, this is sometimes years, which, that's the gamble of this business, because this could be the feather in your cap, right? Like, I mean, Aladdin is amazing, right? That is a feather.
And it took 7 years, so it took a long time to develop that show and do all the out of town tryouts and the presentations and everything. And yeah, it's an investment. So now, I've gotten calls for workshops and things, and I'm actually, I don't mind that. Those are short-term gigs. I'll go to New York, I'll work on a show, help develop a show. And then, if they offer to me or they don't, I'm actually okay at that point. I'm like, I got to do great work with these great people and I'm cool with that. And actually I can go home to my family. And then, if we want to talk about, moving forward, we can. If not, it's fine. So I'm kind of in a good place where I don't feel like I have to be in any one place, and except to make sure that I have my family with me as much as I can. There's a lot of people who are balancing that family life with the career, and I took my kids on the road the first that Aladdin the Aladdin tour, the first year that we did that, and that made a huge difference. Having my family with me on the road. That's the only time I've taken my family on the road, and I would do that again. But
would your family? Would your family want to do that again?
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't.
My wife would be like, "I hate this. Please, let's just go home. I don't want to be out here with all these weird actor people."
Yeah, that's definitely true. But we got that sweet spot where the kids weren't in school yet, and it was the first year of the tour, so we hit 5 cities in 1 year. So it wasn't even a tour, really. So we lucked out there.
Yeah, I can imagine. And my kids, oh God, for them to be cooped up traveling around like every couple of days, that would be insane. That would be too distracting for me. I would not be able to do that. Love my kids, but they're best in a big yard. But okay, so talking about the timing of the national tour, this was after the Broadway run, and I want to make sure that, I actually have a legitimate question that's a little bit in jest, but your sister became Jasmine on Broadway, hopefully not at the same time you were Aladdin on Broadway, right?
That is correct, because we were, that would not work. That would not work.
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine about this, and they were like, "Wait, did they?" I'm like, "No, they couldn't have done it at the same time." I'm sure there are. Are there no equity rules that are like siblings can't play romantic interests? I guess
I don't think there are. There are no rules with that, and Disney is very progressive, but they might draw the line there. Yeah, draw the line there.
Yeah, definitely. I can respect that. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to go back to behind the curtain for a little bit because it's this is a bit of writing. Of course, to put on any show, to put on any one-man show, one-person show is kind of nerve-wracking, and it's vulnerable, and to then have the decision to record it and make it publicly available.
Oh yeah.
Did that decision come to you lightly, or were you, I mean, I guess I hate the stereotypical question of what was your inspiration for doing this? But I guess really, why decide to record this personal story and put it out there and go after the ability to, stream it? Because I'll just stop there. I'll let you answer this.
No, it's a good question. Anytime you're doing a one-person show, you feel like you're bearing your soul up there. And, I mean, some people, they do shows, they just sing through. They don't actually, bring up personal stories and stuff. But I always find that it's not as interesting as a show. And I wanted to create something where I can have a connection with the audience. And, we filmed it in the show was sort of designed for a smaller cabaret audience, right? It's more of a cabaret style show. And the decision to film it, I did not take that lightly, because my original vision, I didn't think I hadn't planned on that happening, honestly. So I didn't go into writing the show knowing it was going to be broadcast to the world. So when the opportunity presented itself through my producer, I had to really think, is this something I want to do? This is the first time I'm ever performing the show. So there could be flubs, there could be, who knows? And we captured it all. It's not to say that when you watch the show, you might see a couple little things that are not correct. Like I may have inverted some lyrics, like per se, and the real theater fans will know that that's not the actual song, but hopefully they'll still enjoy the performances anyway. But it was an intimate type of show, and then we decided to add to it by doing some documentary style interviews about certain moments within the show, and we kind of intersplice those and really create, along with like pictures from my past and all kinds of stuff like that, to create this documentary feel to it. And watching it, I'm like, I when I watch it now, I feel good about it. I also feel like apprehensive, like I'm about to show this to everybody. It feels
Right.
like I'm about to bare my soul and a little bit, and so I'm excited and nervous at the same time. But I'm glad we did it, and I have to thank my producer Bruce Riesman for helping out in convincing me to tape it and bring it to the world.
Was there anything that you found surprising that you either discovered about yourself or about any? I assume you interviewed some of your family too to talk about your childhood and your surroundings, but was there anything as you're watching it, you're like, "Oh, I didn't expect that would have happened in my life, or that this would have happened as a result of that?"
Yeah, when you kind of look back, you can step back and see the whole journey. Um, I start from like my grandfather immigrating to this country, and we talk about that. I go through like it's the long the long haul, the long picture, and the long journey, and I'm kind of amazed at how things come together in people's lives, right? I mean, it's incredible that one moment here can then set you off on a whole nother path. It's like the whole butterfly effect. It's like this, like wow, it's amazing that it's an amazing life we're living, and to have people who love you and support you. I'm so lucky that they were able to kind of push me in this direction. And but I talk about things that were troubling. I talk about things that made me feel vulnerable. I talk a lot about showmances
Hmm.
in the second half of the show, and I couple those stories with a lot of the pop rock stuff, which I think people will be interested and surprised to see me kind of explore that, because they know me mostly for my Broadway stuff. But sometimes I fancy myself a Bruno Mars, or or whoever. I can sometimes hit those notes, not the way he does, but so I had fun with this project. It was daunting, it was scary, but we did it, and it's on tape forever. So people are gonna look at it and either be like, wow, he just kind of threw up at us, or they're gonna be like, wow, this is great, this is really cool, really amazing.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I am apprehensive, or I guess what's the word? Excitedly cautious, or I would be interested in doing something to explore my past, but I don't want to know what it's going to dig up. Because
Yeah,
there
yeah. I mean, you could still
there's been
control.
therapy.
Yeah. Yes, 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 yes. Since it is a pre-written show, I think you have a little bit of control over what you want to say, but it's not like it's not like what we're doing right now, where you could ask me anything and put me on the spot, right? But in the show, at least you can kind of manage what you want to reveal without going too far, and and
I
end
just
up
need.
a puddle front row center stage, end up being
Yeah, I meant
a
more
mess.
like with my family or even past showmances. There's danger
Oh
there.
yeah,
Uh, Yeah.
yeah. No, there's material there. There's always material there, ripe for putting up on a stage and making a fool of yourself.
Oh, I love it. Okay. So I've got a Patreon account, and one of my biggest fans here, my friend Byron, asked a question that I need to ask you, and this is a very, very serious question that he wants to know.
Okay.
Byron wants to know, why are you so damned cute?
Well, Byron, I really don't know the answer to that question. That's how do you answer something like that?
Skincare.
Skincare, yes.
Good hair.
Lots of
Good
sleep.
hair.
Hydration, very important.
Yes. Hydration, good routine, lots of sleep. Yes. Okay. So my 3 standard closing questions that I always ask when I wrap up an episode here. The first one, very simply, is what motivates you?
What motivates me? Now it's definitely my boys, my 7-year-old twin boys. They're motivating me. They're inspiring me every day. Just being so in the moment and asking ridiculous questions and always wanting to play. And I'm always wanting to play with them. So they motivate me. My wife motivates me to be a better, father, better husband, more responsible, better with time, managing my time better. And also, of course, the people, the theater fans out there, they definitely motivate me. And my colleagues, my peers, they motivate me to be a better actor and a better performer. And I'm so inspired whenever I see one of my friends do great work and win awards for it if they do. But even if they don't, I just love seeing them do great work, and that really motivates me as well.
I love that. Okay, so the next question is, what advice would you give to your younger self and younger people listening now, starting out down a similar path?
I always say a couple things here. I say it's important to have patience. As a young, aspiring performer, you want everything to happen right away. Like as soon as you graduate, you want to be like, all right, I got my book, my audition book. Who's going to hire me? And it doesn't always happen that way, right? So you have to put in your pay your dues, put in the time. If you have to do regional gigs and cruise ships and theme parks to get up your experience, do it, right? Do everything it takes. And then the other thing I also say is it's really important that you treat everybody in the business with decency and respect and kindness because it's a small community. And, you don't want to, it's not just your fellow actors that are up there. It's the stage crew. It's the front of house staff. It's the people cleaning your dressing rooms in the evenings. It's everybody pitching together to create an experience for the audience. So it's important that you treat everybody kindly, and you will then get a great reputation and we'll get more work because of that. So if you can do that, that will get you really far.
All right. So then last question. If you can only see one show for the rest of your life, but you can see it as many times as you want, what would you see?
Aladdin. No, I don't know.
Oof. I have made it so.
Oof. Wish granted.
Wish granted.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. I mean, there's so many great shows. One of my favorite shows is West Side Story. I could probably see that over and over. I love that music. I love the drama. And I love the dancing. It's just a beautiful show. I love Sweeney, but I don't think I want to hear that over and over for the rest of my life. That whistle might start to hurt my ears. But any Disney show, hey, Disney knows how to do magic. They know how to do great work up there, and I enjoy that as well. There's so many great shows. Maybe if we had like a movie of all the Broadway shows, the best of, like the Tony Award winning shows compilation, that would be something I'd watch and over.
All right. Well, we'll put it out there in the universe. So Disney Theatrical, if you're listening, make it happen.
That's right.
So where can we find you on social media?
I am, my handle is at Adam Jacobs NYC. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram, mostly Instagram. That's where I am.
You can get more of me at thetheaterpodcast.com. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at theater_podcast. Leave a rating and a review wherever you are listening. This has been edited by Matthew Hendershot. Thank you to Jukebox the Ghost for the intro and the outro music. And Adam Jacobs, thank you most of all. I really enjoyed this.
I've enjoyed it too. Thanks so much for having me.
colorful.